Today we're reviewing the new model of the litter robot. This is the Litter Robot 5. Whisker sent us this litter box to try out, and I'm going to be comparing it to Litter Robot 4, see how it's similar or different, and if it's worth upgrading. Let's talk about it. Now, starting from the beginning, the setup of the Litter Robot 5 is exceptionally easy. I found this also to be the case with Litter Robot 4. I think Whisker does a very good job at just making it a very seamless process to get them set up. Really, the hardest part is just transporting the box because they can be a bit heavy, but they have the Litter Robot in this bag for you, so you can just pull it out and it makes it easier to even pull it out of the box. They've really thought of everything when it comes to that. They even have the litter box liners already in the drawer for you. So really all you have to do is put it in the place you want, add in the litter, plug it into the wall, and set it up with the app, and you're ready to go. How the Litter Robot 5 works is almost exactly the same as Litter Robot 4. Actually, I take that back. It's exactly the same as Litter Robot 4. So if you're familiar with the earlier models, then you can skip this section. But basically the gist of it is on the top, you have this globe where the litter goes. This is where your cat is actually going to use the litter box. Then after your cat has used the litter box, they will hop out. There's a little step to make it a little easier for them to get in and out. But after they use it, the litter robot will wait a certain number of minutes. You can set the exact time in the app. But after your cat has left the litter box and the litter robot senses that there's no cat left inside, then it will start a cleaning cycle. You can also manually start a cleaning cycle, but when it's ready to clean, basically the whole interior of the litter box will spin. What this does is it pushes all of the litter through a filter, and that is going to filter out the clumps from the clean litter. Then the clumps are going to fall through a hole that will emerge on the floor. So basically when it turns, it will open up basically an entryway to the waste drawer. The waste drawer is in the bottom here, which also kind of doubles as where the step is. And then all the clumps will fall inside the waste drawer. And then once all the clumps are filtered out, the whole thing will rotate back. The clean litter will go back where it was before, and then it will be ready to use. So that's the mechanism of how it works. And then all the clumps will just keep accumulating in this waste drawer. And then after about 10 days for a single cat, you can open up the waste drawer and empty out all the clumps. Something to keep in mind that may be a potential negative of the litter robot is they are very prescriptive about what type of litter you can use. So if you are using a tofu, paper, wood, litter, anything like that, you will not be able to use those litters with the litter robot. Really, it's highly recommended that you use clumping clay litter. So if you have an issue with clumping clay litter because you don't want the dust or the tracking or anything like that, then just keep that in mind that you may not be able to use litter that you're used to. Now, there are a handful of differences on the new model. I'm going to be honest, I think a lot of them are not necessarily relevant for a lot of people, but some of them may be relevant to you. So let's walk through a high-level overview. So first of all, the Litter Robot 5 has a bigger capacity. So it's better if you have more cats or bigger cats. So the maximum weight capacity of the new model is 30 pounds versus only 25 pounds on the Litter Robot 4. So if you have a big cat, this could be a good option. Also, the Litter Robot 5 can support up to 5 cats and 5 cat profiles. So if you have a big cat family, this could be a good option versus the Litter Robot 4 can only handle 4 cats. Now, in the new model, they say the waste drawer should be able to hold up to 10 days of waste before you need to change it. And in the old model, they say it can only hold about 8 days. So it's about 20% more capacity. What I really like about these changes is it's a higher capacity, but the actual size of the device is pretty much exactly the same. If you look at the dimensions, it's nearly identical. So you're not really giving up footprint. It's just sort of a reconfiguration of the internal parts to make it a bit roomier. So I think overall that is an improvement. Also, on the new model, the Litter Robot 5, they introduced this feature called Waste ID. Basically what this is, it's a little sensor to be able to detect urine versus feces. So in the app, you'll be able to get a little bit more detail of what exactly your cat is doing in the litter box. So that's a little bit interesting, and it is supposed to change how it actually cycles. So hopefully it should help it keep a little bit cleaner as well. Another feature on the Litter Robot 5 that personally I think is the most fun improvement is they actually have introduced this interior light. So Litter Robot 4 also has a light inside, little night light, but on the Litter Robot 5, you can change the color of the light to be anything you want, which I feel like is is very fun. Like you can fit any decor, make it red, blue, purple. So I think that's fun. And then finally, there are a few nuances when it comes to the accessory compatibility. So if you're using any of the Litter Robot accessories like the litter hopper, not all of them work with the Litter Robot 5. So definitely think about that if you are thinking of upgrading from the older model. The biggest question I had with the Litter Robot 5 is it going to solve the problem I had with the Litter Robot 4, which was the Litter Robot 4 just did not consistently clean out all of the clumps. I don't know what it was, but probably 5 to 10% of the clumps just never got cleaned out. It would cycle and cycle, and they just would not leave the litter box. They would be stuck on the walls, they'd be stuck on the floor. They would sometimes not even be stuck to anything. They would just be sitting on top of the litter and just not get cleaned out. I don't know if they were too small, too big, a weird shape or something. I don't know, but I did have a consistent problem of not all the clumps getting cleaned out. And I am happy to report the Litter Robot 5, I have not noticed that problem to the same degree. It definitely is better with the Litter Robot 5, and possibly that has to do with the waste ID and how it's filtering. Maybe that is improving things a little bit, but I still have that problem a little bit. I have noticed a handful of times where there are clumps that just don't get scooped out. So that would be my personal biggest gripe with the Litter Robot 5, but at least it's improving, so that's a win. I think probably the second most popular reason that people buy automatic litter boxes is for the tracking. The number one being, of course, not having to scoop the litter box as much, but one big benefit of these litter boxes is the tracking and the analytics you get. And I do think Whisker has a very good app to be able to monitor what's going on inside the Litter Robot. So here I have a Whisker app. I've been testing Litter Robot 4 as well as Litter Robot 5. So I have both here on the app. So this is great if you do have multiple litter robots. And if I click into the Litter Robot 5, I can see basically the basic stats of what's going on right now in the litter box. So I can see the status, I can see it's ready, I can see the waste drawer level. So this tells me how close I am to needing to change out the waste. Also, I can see the litter level, so I know when to add more litter. I can also see the last weight Gordon was in his last visit. So he was 13.4 pounds. And then I can see the history. This is probably my favorite thing to be able to get more insights into. So I can see for the last day, week, or month, how often and when Gordon has used the litter box. Now, in order to get a longer time horizon, up to 2 years worth of data, you do need to pay for the premium subscription, which is $80 a year. So if you want that, you will need to pay. But the good thing is you can still get most of the data for free with the regular version. And then the main thing you're going to see with the Litter Robot 5 that doesn't exist with the Litter Robot 4 in the app is the waste ID that I talked about earlier. So essentially this will show you for each of the visits, it'll show you if it was feces or urine, as well as the ounces it was, so the volume. So I can see for the last visit, it was 1 ounce of urine. So I think that's pretty neat. And then you can see a log of all of the history of when exactly each of your cats use litter box, as well as when it cycled. And then finally, there are a lot of settings you can change directly from the app as well. So what I like is in the control section, you can basically press all of the buttons that are on a litter box virtually. So you can turn it on and off, you can lock it, turn on the lights, turn on sleep mode, cycle it, pretty much anything. And then of course you can change the settings, like change the light color, change how often you want it to cycle, how long you want it to wait after your cat used the litter box to cycle. So you have a lot of control right from the app. Now let's talk about cleaning, because I know you might think, oh, an automatic litter box, I don't have to clean up after my cat anymore. I don't need to scoop, all that stuff. And that's generally true, but there are going to be a few things that are actually higher maintenance with a litter robot, and you still will have to clean up after your cat. So first, tracking. The litter robot basically does nothing to prevent tracking. Yes, you do have a little step on the front that's about this big that collects some stray litter, but if you have a cat, you know, litter goes far and wide easily. And especially with a litter robot, you do have to use clay-based litter, and that is generally a higher tracking kind of litter. So you should expect a lot of tracking with a litter robot. So if you do get one, I would highly recommend having a litter mat, and also just be regularly vacuuming or sweeping to collect the litter. Also, just cleaning, like physically cleaning the actual device is more difficult than a regular litter box, because there are so many little nooks and crannies inside that you're going to need to reach into and try to find to clean everything. And A lot of the stuff does come apart, which makes it easier, but it's still going to be like 10 times more difficult to physically clean the litter box versus just a regular pan litter box. So keep that in mind as well. That being said, when it comes to the odor control, it is excellent in my opinion. And I think the reason for this is all of the clumps get dumped into this essentially airtight container. And so even now I haven't changed out the waste drawer in at least a week and I can't smell anything. I really cannot smell anything. I think it does get locked very securely in there, which is especially great if you are living in a small space or you work and live next to the litter box, just to sort of reduce that odor as much as possible. The litter robot has what's called the cat safe system with OmniSense. So this is for safety. Really the biggest thing that you want to be concerned about with an automatic litter box is possibly a safety risk and the thing moving while your cat is inside, and then your cat gets trapped or stuck, or any number of bad things can happen. So basically what the cat safe system does is they use 3 different mechanisms. They use a laser, a sensor weight, and then they also say there's anti-obstruction technology to prevent your cat from getting stuck. So now we're gonna put it to the test. What I have is a 3-pound bag of water. So the minimum weight is 3 pounds for the little robot. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to cycle the little robot, and then a few different times I'll put in this bag of water just to simulate what it would be like if a cat jumped in while it was turning, and then we can see how it goes. So as you can see, the Litter Robot 5 did pass the bag of water test. So I put the bag of water in a few times as it started cycling, and it stopped immediately every time. And then after I took out the bag, it started again within about 10 or 20 seconds. So pretty quickly afterwards. Also, what I like about it is now you have that screen on the front. So you have that cat detected message, which makes it a little bit clearer of what's going on. That's my review of the Litter Robot 5. I hope you found this video helpful, and definitely subscribe to the channel because next up I'm going to be reviewing the Litter Robot 5 Pro. I already have the box ready to go. I'm ready to unbox it and start my review. So definitely stay tuned for that. And until next time, bye.